picket line. So it's really wonderful to see all of you on the remote picket line here. And I think there are a couple of other folks from GEO here. I think they're, well, I don't know if they're in the room, Michael, Razik, and Adam, let me know and say hi. Otherwise, if they're, I think Adam's here. Oh, this is that awkward Zoom thing where you're like trying to get someone to.
I'm here, Yael.
Oh, hi, Adam. I thought you were. And there might be a couple of other folks. So basically what we're going to do for this teach-in is just to talk to you very briefly about what our strike was like. I have a few slides with like images and sort of to give some context, but then we want most of the time to just be conversation. So whatever you all want to ask, and don't be shy about asking. And also, if you don't want to ask, I think the GEO folks will just like reminisce about the strike and the funniest moments of the strike, the most upsetting moments of the strike, the best dressers at the remote picket lines, and also finest cats. Finest cat goes to me, just in case you were wondering, and that's not up for negotiation. Okay, so we'll start with a few slides. Oh, wait, I have to remember how to do the share screen thing. All right, everyone, I'm on fellowship, so I can't remember how to do anything on Zoom because I'm not teaching on Zoom right now. Hold on, I can figure it out. Share screen. There we go. God, I hate that I can't hear anyone's reactions. It's making me so self-conscious. All right. So these are just a few slides that will hopefully help us kind of give some context to what we're here to talk about. So we've done the introductions and told you a little bit about what we're here to do. So as you may or may not know, GEO, the Graduate Employees Organization at the University of Michigan, was on strike in September 2020. We were fighting for a safe and just campus for our community. These are just some of our main demands. We demanded robust COVID testing on campus, universal work remote options so that all our GSIs, graduate student instructors, could choose to work remotely and not have to overcomplicate that process. Improved access to childcare. I know that that's something that you're all fighting for in your context as well. Extended time to degree and a demilitarized campus. So our strike specifically in September was in response to the University of Michigan's reckless decision to bring back tens of thousands of undergrads to campus despite the pandemic, and its refusal to discuss safety measures in a transparent way. So basically, the university refused to have any GEO representatives as part of the conversations on how to reopen, but they also refused to have pretty much anyone else at the table. They had an ethics committee that issued a report against their plan, and they just kiboshed that report. They buried it as if it never happened. And so there were a lot of issues that we were trying to talk to them about for months, and they just refused to talk about it. And so they basically left us no choice but to go on strike. The university was clearly more interested in their profits than in the community's well-being. And that might be familiar to all of you, even though the context is a little bit different. Obviously, as you all know, going on strike is never an easy decision for a lot of reasons. And it also requires a ton of work. And so we're here to support you all as you do this work. So, what did we do when we went on strike? There's some images here from both the in-person pickets and the remote pickets. Obviously, the first and maybe main thing that we did was we canceled classes, we didn't grade, we didn't hold office hours. We stopped all of our activities as instructors, but we also didn't go to class ourselves. We didn't conduct research. We tried to do everything that we could to grind the university to a halt. We picketed in front of multiple buildings around the university. We shut down construction sites. Again, the profits theme, right, that what the university cares about most is things like their construction sites. We also held rallies and marched and shouted slogans, and we did all of that safely because obviously we were all this was all happening during the pandemic. So here are a few images of folks doing that. You can see the distance. And you can see we had a GEO mask that I still wear to the grocery store whenever I go. So these are just some images. We also had the remote picket line like you all have now, in which we wrote emails, we zapped and called the university management. We talked to a lot of staff members because obviously the president of the university doesn't answer his own phone. So a lot of solidarity to the staff of the university gets a lot of the flack here, and it's absolutely not up to them in any way. We talked to our colleagues, our students, and our supervisors. We really wanted to make sure that everyone on campus knew what was happening and knew why it was happening, and that when we were fighting not just for ourselves, we were fighting for the entire campus community. We flooded social media and talked to media outlets. We had daily teach-ins, just like the one you're having right now. We made some excellent memes, and you're about to see a couple of examples. And we planned activities and supported in-person pickets. So one of the best things about the remote picket line is that folks would come in the morning and say, I really want to plan this event. And by the end of the day, the event was planned and we were doing it. And that was really empowering and really significant. So here are some examples of some great memes. I had nothing to do with these specific any memes because I don't understand the medium, but other people do, and they were great at it. DPSS is our campus security, just so that you know. And the guy in the shirt thing that's the president of our university. Memes really require a lot of context, is what we're learning here today. And then these are all the cats that Union Cats supported our strike, and dogs, cats and dogs. They don't discriminate. So GEO members got support from undergrads, from tenured and untenured faculty, from staff, from grad unions across the country, including Columbia, local trade unions here in Ann Arbor and in Michigan at large, and from community allies. We also had a lot of support from our parent union, which in our case is AFT, the American Federation of Teachers. The university, in response, and this part might be extremely familiar to all of you, stonewalled and refused to talk to us. They sent lie-filled emails to our students, telling them things that were not true. We know about those emails because our students sent them to us, because our students are smart. They urged departments to get scabs, which some departments absolutely did. And ultimately, the university took out a restraining order and sued us. So, when they say that they care about students, that's how they show it. So because of those impossible conditions, we were forced to end our strike. We got some things that we were fighting for, and we keep fighting for others. So I'll just say like a couple of brief things about what we got and what we didn't. The university started a task force. As you saw, one of our demands was a demilitarized campus. We didn't get that. As you might imagine, that doesn't happen quickly ever. The university started a task force to discuss campus policing. Task forces are absolutely insufficient. They are, as many people say, where action goes to die. I don't dispute that. But that task force is an opening, because the university previously said that they would never talk to us about policing, that we are not a constituent, and that it has nothing to do with us outside of our purview. And then they realized, oh wait, actually, we don't really have a choice here. And so opening a table, a conversation about this will give us leverage in the future to force them to talk about policing on campus, and to remind them that it's a workplace issue and therefore a union issue, and it's a campus issue and therefore a union issue. And one other thing I'll mention is that the University of Michigan, this strike was in September, as I said. The winter semester in January opened with the university quietly implementing a lot of what GEO demanded in the first place regarding testing, regarding fewer in-person classes. And so GEO obviously got no credit, but a lot of our demands were quietly met. So I want the rest of the time really to be for a conversation, but just to end this very brief presentation by saying that going on strike is hard, and it can be scary, it can be exhausting, but you all have every right to fight for better conditions. You're doing the right thing. Having a union, honestly, is the only thing that's kept me in grad school. And all the benefits that we have through our union, like our healthcare, which includes mental health care, these are things that personally have kept me in grad school and have kept me going. And so you all have a right to have a union, to have your union recognized by the university, and anything that we as allies can do to support that, we will do. So just know that you're supported where you are and elsewhere. So I'll stop sharing the screen, and we can do questions and anything else that we can respond to.
I just want to add something to what you said about our policing demands, which those of you who are involved with your bargaining team might be familiar with this idea of permissive subjects of bargaining, which are basically the university can declare this is a permissive subject of bargaining, therefore we will not talk to you about it, and we will actually take action against you if you continue trying to talk about it. And so when we went on our last contract bargaining campaign, the spring before our strike, they had told us policing is a permissive subject of bargaining, you cannot talk to us about it. And so to go from that to having it be on the table is like a huge thing. And I think one of the biggest, even though totally task forces are way insufficient, like I think the fact that we moved from a permissive subject of bargaining to they created something because of about policing because of our strike is a huge sign of the effect that a labor action can have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also a really important reminder that accomplishments like this, like any accomplishment, takes time. And sometimes I've been a grad student for longer than I care to admit. And I've been a part of 3 cycles of either bargaining, or our recent strike wasn't a part of bargaining, but of sort of action with the university. And very often you don't get the thing you were fighting for immediately, but if you keep pushing and you get like a smaller version of it, you get not enough of it, but if you keep pushing and keep your foot in the door, you can work on, you can keep working off of the smaller accomplishment and build it. In our case at GEO here at Michigan, the example we always give of that is our demands of the university for trans healthcare. For our trans members, people have been fighting for this for such a long time, and the university would, pretend it wasn't an issue. And what are you talking about? And what, they're trans people? I'm shocked. And our activists, and especially our trans activists within the union, worked and pushed and did the grunt work, not just when it was, really popular and everyone was talking about it, but on the off years when no one was talking about it, they kept doing the work, they kept going to the meetings, they kept doing the research, and they got trans provisions in the trans health provisions in our contract, and they then improved upon them. So just a reminder that we're all here for the long haul, and obviously it's, the universities in general rely on us not to do that because we're here for a limited amount of years, but we're also building off of what folks who came before us have done. And so the fact that you're here fighting for your union means not only good things for you all, but that in, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, grad students at Columbia will have this union and will be better for it. Any questions, things that folks would like to ask, say, chat about? Oh, I see that Michael's here from GEO. Michael, do you want to say hi? You don't have to. I just put you on the spot.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael. Use he, him pronouns. I'm a steward at GEO 3550.
Cool. Michael or Adam, do you want to share like an experience from the strike that was particularly meaningful to you all? You can, again, say no because I'm, making you do things.
Yeah, I can talk a little bit. I mean, the whole strike was just so emotional, like just such a wild trip. But I really loved the virtual picket line, so I'm glad to be on someone else's virtual picket line now. I was on the virtual picket line basically every day. I picket captained, and for me it was particularly important because I'm disabled, I'm immunocompromised. In-person picket lines are not safe for me, so I love to have a space where I could contribute to our actions. And it was such a great community. There were so many people supporting each other. Like Yael said, people would just in the picket lines come up with ideas like, could we do this? And then other people said, yeah, that's a good idea. And so we were like, okay, we'll go put you in a breakout room and you guys can brainstorm on this and develop this idea. And so many good ideas came out of those virtual picket line discussions. It was really amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I guess a couple of things I could share. One is just like there's just so much in the virtual picket lines and otherwise just so much like rank and file activity, so many like creative things people were coming up with. I'm a steward in the math department at Michigan, and people in my department were just like coming up with all kinds of creative things, making memes and doing all kinds of organizing within our department and all that stuff. And in terms of the virtual picket, I thought it was great. I was in the virtual picket a lot. And I guess one particular thing, one particular memory I had was like people at certain points, we had maybe people introducing themselves throughout the virtual picket and like saying a bit about their current feelings and why they're what they're excited about or what they're feeling at this moment of the strike. And especially after we had an offer from the university a couple days after the strike started, there was like a super long 4-hour meeting where we had very, very passionate, discussion about like, should we accept this deal? Should we not? Because there were like, the university was really trying to threaten us very hard. And we felt in a dire position, but then, and there was this experience where people were feeling mostly that, we were inclined to accept the deal out of fear of what the university was going to do. But, people were sharing why this fight is so important, why the deal was insufficient. And by the end, most people wanted to reject the deal. And like the day afterwards, so many people were like in the virtual picket and stuff like that, just sharing their experience of thinking about why the strike is so important. It was like very transformative, I think. So just hearing people's stories, hearing why the strike was so important to people, connecting with other people, seeing, dogs and cats and ferrets and stuff on the virtual picket was pretty cool.
I forgot about the ferrets, so thank you for that reminder, Michael. Adam, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just I see we have a question from Berenique. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name too badly. About how did you involve or engage administrative staff, especially thinking about austerity measures affecting them too. And I have a couple things to, okay, pretty close. Okay, I have just a couple things that I wanted to say about this. So first, one decision that we made, I think, like the first day of like the virtual picket line was when we were calling, the president's office or something. We realized, we're getting secretaries, we're getting administrative staff. And I remember there was a conscious decision made, like, we could be combative again with these people that are answering the phone for the president because the president is never going to answer his own phone. Or we could realize that like these people are affected by the pandemic as much as we are. Like if we are polite with them, if we are respectful to them and like explain what we're doing, like they are going through the same thing. Another thing is, I know, we did have a lot of staff members and a lot of lecturers, adjunct faculty supporting us. But I think one thing that I also realized during the strike was grad students have a degree of job security that is sometimes a bit greater than adjunct faculty or university staff members. And so I knew there were some staff members who did not make themselves visible with our strike. I knew they supported us, but they didn't want to make themselves visible for fear of their job safety. And so, I felt that what we were doing with our strike was also speaking up for people who were in more vulnerable employment positions than we were. Those are just the things I wanted to say in response to that.
Yeah, that's super important. And I'll just add to that we wanted to engage as many groups on campus that we could. And as Adam was sort of hinting at, we expected different things of them, right? It's different to be a tenured faculty with a huge salary. We know their salaries. It's a public university. You can just look it up, and speak up, versus being a faculty member who has no tenure, or being a staff member. And we do have that additional job security being students and also having a union. Our staff is not unionized at Michigan. And so there are definitely those differences. And so when we thinking about engaging with staff, we wanted to do just that. We wanted to engage. We wanted to have conversations. We weren't there to make demands. We were there with staff. We were there to sort of let them know what we were fighting for, and hear from them. And very often, what we ended up hearing was that they had very similar concerns to what we were fighting for. And so a lot of the organizing with staff happened within departments, right? So that's what Adam's saying in the chat. So departments would have town halls with their staff members. We also had a GEO-wide staff town hall with staff that again was organized on the remote picket line. And I think there were over 100 staff members there. It was organized in like less than 24 hours, and there were over 100 people there. And so just to sort of hear where staff is, and to also to talk to them like they are our colleagues, because they are our colleagues. And I just came from another Zoom call that was a bargaining session with our lecturers here at the University of Michigan who are now bargaining with the university. And there were folks there who are staff as well, and we're saying, no one cares about us, no one talks about us. And so, yeah, they are very much in the same boat. And yeah, and then I saw a question from Louisa about making the remote picket line visible by the university administration. Michael or Adam, anything you want to say about that? While you're thinking, go ahead, Michael.
Oh, no, maybe I should think some more. I mean, we tried like shifting our targets for like phone banking or like phone calls and stuff like that, but I'll have to think a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really difficult thing. The way we were trying to think about it, and again, I agree with Michael that I also still want to keep thinking about it, but we tried to think about what would be disruptive, what would get us noticed. And so sometimes that meant filling up inboxes, and sometimes that meant doing a lot of social media. And we had folks doing social media on every platform, and we had undergrads doing TikToks, and God, I sound so old when I say that, undergrads doing TikToks. And the University of Michigan subreddit, like there were folks were everywhere and really trying to steer the conversation in a way that was useful, and just, you know, tagging the university and absolutely everything, and going to every meeting that was on campus and just saying, well, what about this GEO thing? And so really trying to be a pain in their butt, because they deserve that, and that's the way to get their attention. And I think that's also important to then use that, because often the things that we hear from not only the university, but from apprehensive, in our case at least, faculty members, would be, well, this strike is so disruptive. And then we'd have to tell, yeah, that's the point. The point is that we have to disrupt, because they will not give us any attention. They won't sit at the table with us unless we do this. So I think it's important to kind of take that argument and turn it on its head. And so, yeah, so just thinking about talking to the media is a way is a thing that we can do, you know, during the remote picket line. That's helpful and useful. Honestly, talking to people, you know, picking up the phone to your supervisor, if you have a relationship with them that allows for that. The more people were aware of the strike and the reasons for the strike, the more support we got. And I think that the university sort of relies on the fact that everything is so siloed and everything is so isolated, especially during the pandemic, that people will just, you know, not know and not bother to ask. And so getting information out there and talking to people and talking to them one-on-one or talking to them in groups it was crucial. And the other thing I'll say too is that it was one of the sort of internal goals that we had for the remote picket line was for that community that Adam was talking about before, and that Michael too, it was good for the people who were on strike. And that's not nothing, right? That is, it creates a sense of community that is so hard to get in an isolating experience like grad school, and especially now. And so that was really meaningful, and it gave people energy, and it gave people confidence in what they were doing, and it made it more possible for them to keep being on strike, because, you know, if you're just sitting there not doing your work and you don't know what to do, it becomes scarier, and it becomes more of a struggle. But if you're with 164 of your best friends, then that's a lot easier. Discuss your individual thought process on voting to reject versus ratify the university's offer. Adam or Michael, do you want to get us started on that? Or I can, if you want me to.
It's so tough, because yeah, I mean, I think that first day that we voted on a university offer, which is what, like 2-3 days after we went on strike, you know, I was so nervous. You know, I was so disappointed with the university's offer. It was nothing. They gave us nothing. But also I feel like I hadn't quite felt sort of the power of our strike yet, and so I was nervous that you know, things were going to fall apart if we kept going. But I just knew, like, I could not accept this offer, so I voted to reject it. And then the couple of days after that, things really built up. I felt like we started to get all this great support from other unions around the country. Started to get this press coverage. And so it came to the weekend when it was time for us to decide whether we were going to continue our strike into the next week. And at that point, I was absolutely jazzed. I was like, yeah, we have so much power right now, like, to keep going. And so we kept going. But then, you know, the university hit us with a restraining order and started the process of suing us. Because, you know, I'm not sure how it works in New York, but in the state of Michigan, it's illegal for public employees. I guess Columbia is not a public university, right? Yeah. And in Michigan, it's illegal for public employees to go on strike. So what we were doing was an illegal job action. And, you know, again, the university's offer was not great that second week, but I knew that if the legal process went through, it would bankrupt our union. And, you know, I decided I would rather continue to have a union that can fight for me in the future, then continue to push right here and make this some final stand, because I know that we can continue fighting for these issues moving forward.
Maybe I'll add a short bit. Yeah, so I mean, ultimately we accepted the final offer like 8 days after our strike started, and there were like reasons behind that, including the injunction, of course, and a sense that going forward might not be productive. But I guess for me, the more important experience was like the first offers that we received, and like I mean, I voted to reject it, and I remember like being in conversation with people in my department at the time about it, who were also like really hoping to reject it, but also there was, you know, this very long discussion in our meeting, and it just brought up so many things for so many people, I think, because we just had this sense of just like total frustration that you know, after months and months of trying to achieve something from the university and them totally stonewalling us, and then us having to go on strike, they still just gave us absolutely nothing. I mean, well, a little bit, but basically nothing. And it just brought up so much for people. I mean, like I and other people were like thinking about just that this is, you know, it was beyond just our strike action. It was just how crushing academia can be, and all these other thoughts that like just came to mind about how powerless like so many of us feel, but the importance of like really raising the issues and keeping fighting to bring like issues that we care about to the forefront. So I'm really proud that like we were able to collectively like have this moment of going from a place of fear to a place of energy and hope, and reject that offer that time. Although, you know, even though we ended up accepting another offer, I feel that in the intervening time, we were really able to build the strike to sort of increase publicity around the issues that we were fighting for. And even though, you know, the final offer didn't have a lot of, you know, concrete things in it, like just that week of the or so of the strike after the first offer, I think really impacted the results at the end of accepting the second offer. So those are just a few thoughts.
Yeah, and I'll just say, I see there are a couple of other questions in the chat. I just want to add to that first of all, I said restraining order, whoops, injunction, sorry, that's on me. But when the university took out an injunction against us, that I mean, it was bad and it was scary, and it forced us to do what we didn't want to do. But it also mobilized people, because faculty members, for example, who were on the fence and were like, oh, I'm not sure about this strike, saw the university take out an injunction and sue its own grad students, and it sort of flipped a switch for them, and they were like, oh wait, no, this might be bad. The institution might be bad. And so that's, you know, an epiphany. Shouldn't have taken them this long, but it did for a lot of them, I should say. Not, we also had a bunch of people supporting us from the start, but for a lot of people who were hesitant, that was an issue that ended up sort of waking them up basically to the power dynamic in the university that's at work when we're on strike and when we're not. So I saw there was a question about stonewalling and what worked with the university stonewalling. I think that, yeah, everything, the in-person pickets, the remote pickets, the incessant pressure, the media coverage, most of which was really bad for the university, not all of it, but most of it was really, really bad for them. And we also applied a lot of pressure. Again, I'm not sure how Columbia works in this regard, but we applied a lot of pressure on the Board of Regents at the University of Michigan, and we continue to do that because they were wildly disappointing. And we tried to talk to students' parents, for example. That was a constituency that we tried to make inroads with, because we know what the university cares about is the money that they get from tuition, et cetera. Another idea that we didn't quite get around to, but we're thinking about, was reaching out to donors, alumni who are donors, since again, you got to think about what are the things that hurt the university. And so we got, and I'll say also that the pressure that they got from our parent union, AFT, that was at the table with us all the time, constantly, and they have the kind of power, political power and otherwise, to really support us, and that includes legal services and includes advocacy, and that was really significant. I think the other thing too is that we haven't stopped fighting even after the strike. And so you'll see even now, many months later, at university Zoom calls and everything, there'll usually be some sort of question that relates to the things that we were fighting for. And we're already organizing for our next campaign as a union. And so that's just an ongoing thing. So to kind of keep that energy and that momentum building, it's hard, and it requires a lot of work, but it's necessary, and it's the only way to do it. There was a question that a lot of folks wanted to talk about, which is, what do you do when faculty say that they personally support the organizing efforts, but they are hesitant to say that publicly? And so I got from one of the questions that there's a rule at Columbia, is that right? That faculty is not allowed to do that. Is that a thing? No. Okay. So, or maybe just faculty is sort of apprehensive, thinking that there might be some sort of retaliation or pressure. Okay. Okay, great. That's helpful. Thank you. Yeah, so I think that's definitely something that we all dealt with. Adam or Michael, any thoughts on talking to faculty who are like, oh yeah, I'm totally with you, but don't tell anyone I said that?
Yeah. I'm not sure I have the best advice for winning them over, but I mean, I think what we run up against is a couple things. I think there are some faculty who play into a sort of, even if it's not the pressure of the university telling them not to comment, I think some faculty play into a sort of respectability politics of like, oh well, like, why do you have to? Can't you ask for it a little more nicely? Like, I support what you're doing, but can't you be more nice about it? And so, I mean, I think there's a conversation that needs to be had with faculty about why are we being disruptive? Why are we calling out the university in this way? And then I think also there was a question about junior faculty, and I think it's true that junior faculty who haven't been fully tenured obviously have less job security than a full professor, but they still have much more job security than we do as graduate students. They have much more power than we do as graduate students. And in fact, at least in my department, the people that I saw speaking up most vocally about GEO were the junior faculty. Consistently in my department, that was the case. The junior faculty were always there for us, and it was the full professors that we had to do more convincing for. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I could report similar things. Yeah, certainly I would say tenured faculty were a struggle in my department, at least, and I think that was typical across a lot of departments. And yeah, in fact, similar to what Adam was saying, like, full faculty, of course, are sort of like the least precarious workers in this shitty academic hierarchy. So they really ought to be at the forefront of being vocal about support. But yeah, unfortunately, as we all know, they not always are. In fact, we had like a faculty support letter, which is one idea to it's a smaller ask than telling faculty to cancel class, but something to have them. I don't know if you have a faculty support letter or something already, but we got a bunch of like postdocs and other more, even like staff or whatever who signed that from my department, and yet like only one full professor did. So it's very frustrating, but I don't know, it like sort of, in many respects, our strike was very instructive for many of us. It really like clued a lot of people into a lot of things that are wrong about academia. And I would say this was really one that like people with the most job security should be, and the least precarious people should be the ones to speak out and affect change with less fear, but unfortunately are not always the ones who do so. So just, yeah.
Yeah, and if I can just add one more thing, I think one thing to keep in mind is, some faculty you're not going to win over in one job action. This is like a deep cultural problem in academia that there are a lot of faculty that still view graduate education as this sort of apprenticeship where we are the needy graduate students that they are bestowing their wisdom upon, and we should be thankful for everything that we get. And they don't see us as workers. And so it's really a cultural issue, and hopefully that you can begin having the conversation with a lot of faculty about this now. But it's not something that's going to be resolved in a week or two. But you have to keep having that conversation. And I know, we had faculty come to light during the strike who are interested in unionizing themselves. Who knows how long that'll take, how much support that will be, but that conversation has been started now.
Yeah, and I'll just say that one of the things we kept thinking about was that there was not one message for faculty, right? That it depends on who you're talking to. And so some faculty would respond really well to a kind of, hey, you have politics that, you state you have this set of values. Here's an opportunity to actually act on it. And it's like, depending on your tone, it can be a sort of an invitation or it can be a bit of a shaming, right? And it depends on who merits what. In some cases, it can be a kind of, oh, hey, we really need your support. We would not be able to do anything if you didn't just like come in and support us and do. So it really depends who you're talking to. We also had a town hall for faculty. There were something like 600 people there. It was scary as hell. It was great. And then the next day we had another one because due to popular demand. And so I think that a lot of, at least in our case, a lot of faculty members really wanted to hear. We're like, what is happening? I don't understand, because they don't, unless they're chairs of departments, they don't really get a lot of communication from the university. And so to talk to them directly was incredibly important. And then, yeah, to kind of see what messaging works best on whom. There was also in that town hall with faculty, someone happens to be chair of my department, said something like, oh, well, some of these demands look great, but, the policing stuff, why don't you leave that to faculty? Faculty can deal with that. And my response was like, I mean, you can do your thing, but we're doing our thing. We don't exactly see faculty, you haven't demilitarized campus yet, so we're not going to wait on all of you. And I think that it really does depend on who you're talking to, the relationship that you have with them. That'll vary so greatly across different programs. We have, folks in the School of Public Health have a different relationship with their faculty than folks in the humanities or in engineering or whatever it is. So, and just to sort of follow up on what Adam was saying, that it takes time. Just like when you talk to a grad student about, wanting them to join the union, that they might not sign that card after one conversation, but keep talking to them. It might, crack something, and you might have a better understanding of what is important to them that you can then sort of help them see how the union helps them with that issue. The same goes for faculty. And yes, support letters from faculty are important. After the university took out the injunction against our union, we had a lot more support letters like this come out. And then it kind of became a like a race to who's going to write the more radical letter from departments, which is a fun competition. Okay. Oh, that's great. Yes, use all the apps and things to find each other. That's really lovely.
Oh, one other little concrete thing about faculty support. I'm not sure we were able to have this happen that much in my department, but like one idea is to have like undergrads reach out to faculty and like explain their support. Especially like one particularly hard ask from a lot of faculty is like getting them to cancel class. But like even though not many did cancel class in my department except for like postdocs, you know, their stated reason might be like, oh, we're worried about the impact on undergrad students or something like that. So, I mean, we had like supportive undergrad students in our department who we were working with to like, you know, coordinate people writing letters to a professor, you know, saying like, please cancel class, or at the least, like, I'm comfortable with you canceling class or something like that. So having undergrads reach out might be one concrete thing to do.
Yeah, and I'll just say that the idea that it's so terrifying to faculty to cancel class is really, it really just goes to show how indoctrinated everyone is in an institution, right? You're sort of made to think that the worst thing you could do is cancel class. Like, no, the worst thing you could do is not give people conditions in which they can work well. Like, you're not going to be able to teach well if you don't get paid, if you don't have health benefits, if you don't, you know, all of these things, if you're a person, right? You're not a machine. And so that message, I think, is incredibly important to bring out. I remember a correspondence I had with the chair of my department. She said, oh, she's so supportive of the union, which she is. And so she won't get any scabs or anything, but she will teach herself. And so at some point I was just like, then you're not supportive of the strike. You can't have it both ways. It can't be a sort of, oh yeah, I'm saying nominally, yes, I'm with you, but also I'm not going to do anything to disrupt. And so that was really, really important. And yes, absolutely, working conditions are learning conditions. The idea that the separation that university can separate, you know, the work environment from the learning environment is just completely bogus, and it's just a tactic that they use. I also saw someone in the chat saying that their first years, I can't, it's so hard to be a first year this year with the pandemic stuff, and now with you know, trying to organize and stuff. So much sympathy and solidarity to folks who are first years. We had a lot of first years on our remote picket lines, and so find ways to connect with people and to sort of, you know, start private chats and all of the things, because it's so important. And the sense of community, you know, the universities love to use this buzzword of like community building, but we're the ones that actually build the community. We're the ones that actually do the work, and going on strike to improve our working conditions is building a community. That's what it's about. And so, you know, they can use the slogans, but we do the work.
Yeah, one small thing to add about first year students, like, so, you know, as part of the strike, we weren't going to class and stuff like that. And this is something that is like, at least in my department, like first year students are the ones for whom class is the most important. They have to like pass qualifying exams, and these classes are important for that or whatever. And a lot of faculty were not, almost all faculty were like not canceling class, not even like being accommodating about saying like you can do assignments after the strike or something like that. So it was really shitty. But one thing that was good was like, you know, some of us like older grad students would sometimes like reach out to a professor on behalf of first year grad students who maybe felt a little more, you know, uncomfortable, you know, demanding this of faculty or something like that, and saying, please cancel class. You know, this is, you don't want to have a harmful impact on your grad students, let alone the fact you're supposed to be canceling class for the strike anyway. So yeah, just that kind of thing, like finding people more comfortable engaging in things like that. who can help out is good.
Do we maybe have time for one last question if anyone
Yeah.
has it?
Anyone else want to ask anything? This is really exciting, and it's just lovely to see so many people here. Department sending out statements and support. Yeah, so I don't know obviously about your situation, but at Michigan, yeah, it started as a very, very small trickle, which was basically a result of individual organizers just going to their departments. If you know that your department has faculty who are sympathetic, where that would be an easier get, then do and explaining to them why that would be so important and so helpful, then start with that. And then when departments that are maybe less inclined to do so see other departments doing it, God, it's shocking how childlike they are, but they're more likely to do it. They feel safer doing it, which don't get me started on that. But so I think that's a really important avenue. What were your bargaining policies?
Well, I want to.
Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Adam.
Ralphie asked the question, what motivates you to keep fighting, knowing that these problems are so pervasive throughout higher ed and throughout the country/world? I mean, it's not going to change on its own. And like, if nobody else is gonna, like, who else is gonna fight for these things to change? It can be bleak sometimes, I think, but I don't know. I think there is so much community and strength in a union, that it's my fellow union members that keep me going. It's all the people that I've met through it. And yeah, it's not going to change unless we put in the work.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, I can try to say something. I mean, like I think I mentioned before, our strike was just like really instructive and eye-opening to a lot of us. I mean, we were certainly, it's not like we trusted the university before the strike or something like that, but especially to like many rank and file members, it was like very clear how shitty the whole system of academia is in general, and how the neoliberal university functions and all these things. And at times it can be, depressing, like this is terrible, and it can almost seem insurmountable to overcome these issues. But I have like a lot of faith in collective action through a union, through other struggles to fight this. We can't just, throw up our hands and say, let's hope that eventually, some, well-minded grad students will become professors and someday will, be in power and do things better or things like that, because we have to fight now. And there are times when there's more or less militant action, but just, yeah, joining together, we have a chance to really change things in a very real way.
Yeah, and I'll just say that what keeps me going is other people, right? When I get tired, I know that someone else will take it up and do the fighting so that I can come back and fight again. And so, yeah, finding a community of like-minded people, organizers, is so important. And that's why what you're all doing, trying to make sure that your union is organized, is recognized and organized, that's critical. You can't, that's the floor. You have to have that. And then you can use that to do so many other things. I got, there was a question about our bargaining policy. So I'll just quickly say that we weren't on strike as part of a bargaining campaign. We bargained with the university in April, got a contract, And then in September, we went on strike because of their COVID policies. That complicated the situation in a lot of ways because it was unprecedented to go on strike outside of a bargaining campaign. And so we didn't have open bargaining sessions. We did have open bargaining sessions when we were bargaining in April because everything was already on Zoom. And I just came from a bargaining session for our lecturers union, and they're doing when there's a caucus, which is a time when when bargaining is halted and the parties are sort of separate. There's just this like rally sense, in the room with like 200 people, sort of like what you're doing now. And I can also say that going to bargaining is how I got involved with the union in the first place. So I really highly recommend doing that in whatever way is technically available now. And so, yeah, that's a really, it helps you see things for what they are when you're in the bargaining room. And it also, the university hates it. They hate it when we're there and they can see that people care about it because they can so easily just be like, oh yeah, no one, we can just do whatever we want, like in the dark, no one's noticing. Let them know you see them, you see what they're doing, and you're calling their bullshit. Is holding class an alternative platform largely symbolic? I'm gonna guess that that's a question that the Columbia organizers can probably answer best. If I'm wrong, and it's a broader question, let me know. Oh, that's great. Okay, I think those are all. Did I miss a question? I'm so bad with chat.
I think we got all of them. Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Columbia graduate workers, for having us.
Yeah.
Great to see what you're doing. It's really inspiring.
It really is inspiring. And, this is we're all fighting the same fight, right? And the demands might be, different here and there, but we're all fighting the same fight. So the fight that we were engaged in September, it's this fight. And so we support you. And so this is, like what I said before about a community of like-minded organizers, this is it too. So now you're picking up the fight, and in a couple of months, it'll be someone else. And so know that what you're doing is so important for you, for those who come after you, and for other grad students all over the country.
Yeah, just to echo what Yael said, your fight is really an inspiration. I think that, times often get us down. I mean, like a lot of the time when we're in academia, we just feel powerless and feel like there's nothing we can do to change our situation. But like, especially in these moments of struggle and in moments when we were on strike and when you're on strike and so on, it's really a reminder that through collective action, we can change things. We can, even if, we don't win everything in one go. This is a long struggle. It's a collective fight. And I'm really inspired by what all of you are doing. We really appreciated support from you and so many others around the country and the world during our strike. And yeah.
All right, everyone, keep up the good fight, and good luck, and we'll keep following this. And I know that folks from our union are going to be joining, sort of dropping in and out of your picket lines, the remote picket lines, and they have been. And so, yeah, we're really, really excited and sending you so much solidarity.